Hello everyone and welcome to WGBS TV Live, brought to you by SupermanHomepage.com, the #1 Superman fan site in the world. My name is Steve Eunice. In this, our March 19th, 2019 show, we're going to be covering a range of topics, including a new picture of Henry Cavill that was posted online this week. We've got Supergirl, Lex Luthor stuff to talk about. We've got heaps of comic book and book news to talk about as well. And we'll also be turning to you to take your questions and comments on any particular Superman topic you would like to discuss. And to let you know how all that works and how you can get involved in tonight's show, let me introduce you to my co-host, Mr. Michael Bailey. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Steve. Now, since WGBS Live is all about Superman, we want to hear from Superman fans that are watching us live on YouTube. So around the halfway mark of the show, and if we don't have too much on the docket, which frankly, folks, we got a lot to talk about tonight, we will try to start taking your calls. To do this, you're going to need Skype. Go to Skype, find SupermanHomepage.com, follow all the handy stuff right over here, and message us that you'd like to join us. Wait for us to reply, and we'll try to get you on the show. And if you do get on, please turn off any external speakers or anything, because we are on a delay.
Yep, exactly. So get involved in tonight's show also by being part of the comments. For everyone watching live via YouTube, we invite you to join in the comments and ask questions, and Michael and I will keep an eye on those and react to them as the show goes on, so get involved that way as well. And a huge thank you to our sponsor and patron, Douglas Meacham. Now, Michael, it's been a busy week. We've got a lot of topics, as you said, to talk about. You're suffering with a little bit of allergies at the moment, so we'll apologise in advance for any sniffling and coughing that might happen.
And it's going to happen, folks. Trust me. It's everything is yellow. It's like a song from the 90s.
I'm hoping you're talking about the dust, not what's coming out of you.
Little bit of both. So,
oh no!
Yay!
All right. Well, as I said, we've got a lot of topics to get through tonight, and as I mentioned at the top, we've got a new photo of Henry Cavill that appeared online this week, showing him doing the famous shirt rip during the Justice League section of the film, where Lois goes through at the end of the movie about the whole look up in the sky thing, and it's an interesting angle, and just good to see another photo of Henry as Superman that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, the sky behind him is really bright and green, if I'm correct. I think, is that a green screen, or is that filmed on location somewhere?
I don't know.
So it's but yeah, it's I wonder if they had to use some other shirt, some other S shield, because that looks a little flatter than the ones that he usually wears. In the movies, because that was kind of like the thing with the Superman Returns costume, where the S was kind of three-dimensional, instead of being flat on being kind of silk screened on. So, but it's it was one of my favorite parts of that movie, so it's nice to see another kind of shot of it, basically. Yeah,
exactly. So that was posted on Instagram, and people started wondering why are we seeing these. There's dozens, if not hundreds, of photos that are taken for continuity and other reasons during a film, and every now and then somebody who's involved with the film finds it as they're doing a search through their backups or whatever, and goes, "Oh, this would be nice," and posts it online. There's not necessarily any rhyme or reason to it, or any kind of ulterior motive other than, "Hey, I found this, I'll share it."
Yeah, I don't see anything nefarious, nor do I see anything like this is their lead up to a big announcement. If it is, it's part of one of the longest lead ups that we have ever seen in Superman fandom.
Indeed. All right. In other movie news, there is Home Media Awards that's going to take place in April, and at the moment they're taking votes for the different nominations for the different categories. And two Superman movies, the 4K Ultra HD release of Superman the movie and the 4K release of The Death of Superman animated movie, are both nominated in the category of Best Superhero Disc, with some stiff opposition up against them. They've got Avengers Infinity War, Batman the Animated Series Limited Edition Blu-ray, Incredibles 2, amongst others that are also nominated for the same category. So it's going to be difficult to win this one, but Superman's got 2 entries in this category. So if you want to get involved, you vote at, I think the address is, I'll find it in a second, but you've got till April 5th to do so, and the place to go is is mediaplaynews.com, or just go to our website and click on the link there for the news item that you'll see under the movies section.
I'm calling complete shenanigans that Batman the Animated Series is up for this for this award against a bunch of movies. That seems grossly unfair time-wise.
True. But best superhero disc, I guess, doesn't really say which disc.
And if it is a box set like that, do you have to specify which disc was better than all the other discs? I mean, it's just I don't know.
Yeah, so you've got till April 5th to vote, and then consumer preferences will be combined with judge scores to determine the winners, which will be announced on April 15th. So I'll keep an eye on that and let you know if either of those Superman movies or discs win that category. But speaking of Superman the movie, if you're in the Phoenix, Arizona area, Harkins Theatres are celebrating the 40th anniversary of Superman the movie with screenings in multiple theatres across Phoenix, Arizona in May, or actually on Tuesday, May 28th. So if you're in the area, there are 11 different Harkins Theatres throughout Phoenix, Arizona, which will be showing a 7 p.m. screening on May 28th. So you'll check Harkins.com to see if there's one near you, and I think it's definitely something you should go and check out.
Oh yeah, definitely. I got to do it last year. I guess. God, was that? Man, March is almost over. Where is 2019 going?
It's crazy. Time flies by when you're having fun, as they say. I don't know how much fun we're having.
We'll call it fun, and we'll leave it at that.
So check that out. All right, let's move into the TV world, and there's lots to get through in the TV section of tonight's show, starting with the latest episode of Supergirl, which aired on Sunday night there and Monday night here. It was titled Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And it gave us our first look at John Cryer as Lex Luthor, and I don't think I've seen one comment anywhere across our social media channels saying anything but positive reactions towards John Cryer's version of Lex.
Yeah, even everyone who's normally, spending their Sunday and Mondays posting about how they hate the current direction of Supergirl and everything that it represents, even they were kind of positive about his, maybe sometimes damning it with faint praise, but no, it's amazing that we've gotten such a we have anything to do with it. It has gotten a really positive response, and it seems that most people have been really digging it. And I think it was a real coup for the season, because it definitely brought an energy back to the show. Not that the show is really, the show's been really, really serious, and this felt more, I don't want to say comic booky because I hate that term, but this felt more like, a more traditional superhero story, instead of what we've been getting.
Exactly. And I said to you off air before we started that it's funny how the episode that seems to have put the political messages and nature of the series so far towards the back of our minds was a better episode, whether that's just because of the way we feel or our personal preferences. But as you said, it felt more traditional kind of superhero fare because of the shenanigans and the way that Lex was manipulating things. There was Lena's playing with Lena's emotions, just the way he happened. Everything that happened was a plot by Lex. Every little thing was manipulated by him to fall in his favor and go the way that he anticipated. And there were even a few twists in there that I didn't see coming, including Miss Tessmacher.
Yeah, the heel turn as hey Henry Bernstein, how you doing? The heel turn, as I called it, was actually very surprising but extremely welcome. I've been in the reviews that I'm writing, I've been talking that I like the fact that they actually made Miss Tessmacher a character and not an Easter egg. Because let's face it, back at the beginning of season 2, when Kat was just yelling Miss Tessmacher throughout the first couple of episodes, and she was like, all befuddled and stuff. Yeah, it was cute, but it really, I like a little more meat on the bone of the character, so to speak. But to have her turn at the end, and basically everything she's been doing since going to work for Lena, has basically been in Lex's hip pocket. Her working for Lex and working with Lena, I don't think that was something that was planned from the beginning. Was it last season that she started working with Lena, or was it this season?
Yeah, so you've got to think, even introducing Miss Tessmacher way back when, you got to think, did they have this plan in? I mean, are they that forward thinking that they thought about having her be, a double agent, if you like, this far in advance?
But probably not. But it still works. It's one of those retcons that fits nicely into the show, because it makes more sense now that she's been kind of pushing Lena towards this cure. We need to keep working. We need to keep working. We don't want to work with the government. We want to stay away from everything, and just kind of playing her the entire time. That when she finally came out and had been working with Lex, I was just like, that's perfect.
Yeah, and John in the comments is saying Lex shot James from last episode, but they didn't show him escaping from prison until this episode. I don't think Lex shot him himself. He either got Otis or Miss Tessmacher or somebody to do it for him, so that it was all in the planning stages. So yeah, definitely not Lex himself, but one of his hench people, probably Otis, who shot, or even Miss Tessmacher.
I would say Miss Tessmacher. If I had to put money down on it, I would actually say Miss Tessmacher, because she would be in the office. No, she's working with Lena. It's a 50-50 shot. What I really liked, though, is after shooting him, the shooter activated the signal watch, which I was just like, oh, that's a neat little, every time they do something like overly, like comic bookish, as in, again, I hate the term, but as in, stuff from the comics, it always kind of surprises me of how heavy this season has been. Like last episode, it was villains breaking into the fortress. This episode, it was a hypersonic signal watch. I'm like, yeah, this is what I like. And Otis coming back, that was great. I was not expecting it. It came completely out of nowhere. Lex manipulating Lena, you saw happening throughout the entire episode. So the minute that she left to go save James, that he was going to inject himself with the serum. You knew what was going to happen. That was not a surprise.
No.
And I think the writers knew that, which is why they give you the Otis reveal, where it's just like, oh, that's a complete surprise. And then playing the Mozart music as he's walking out of the house, and they're obliterating, like, of course a Luthor mansion would have laser cannons at the beginning, in the opening. I was just like, wow, of all the references to make, that was one I was not expecting. So it was kind of neat that they did that.
Yeah.
And kind of made Lex Lex really badass at the end of this episode.
Now, I don't know if many people caught it, but I tweeted about it about 10 minutes before the start of the show. Lex gave this story about his dog, Ignatius. And Ignatius is actually the name of Lex's pet iguana in the Crypto the Superdog animated series. So they did their research.
Wow. That's a deep cut. That's a serious, it was interesting to see all the different little elements. John Cryer in several interviews, one with the DC Daily and one with Michael Rosenbaum that was released today. talks about like the two Luthers he liked were that he liked the most were Gene Hackman and Michael Rosenbaum, and you kind of saw both of them, but it was really serious businessman sociopath Lex all the way through. He was never not a villain. Even when he was sitting there yelling about how he was supposed to be the man of tomorrow, he's a narcissist.
Yeah.
And I like that he was just a bad guy. You can't trust him. If he's making you feel a certain way, it's all manipulative.
Yep.
And, it was just the fact that Cryer was able to play the darkness with the more, kind of eliciting a compassionate response that I was just completely blown away by. It was just like they once again they took a bunch of different versions of a character, put it in a blender, and then did something completely original with it.
Yeah, as they said, the DC Daily interview that was posted today, whenever you see Lex being emotional or tapping into something of emotion, it's all a manipulation. He's doing it to get a particular reaction from the person that he's talking to at the time, and it happened to be Lena here, and playing on her emotions because he is a sociopath. He just doesn't have the reactions that we anticipate or that normal people would have, and he's just using other people's emotions to his own benefit, and it plays so well because he's such a nasty piece of work.
And the interesting thing was he kept pushing her, and it made her work better, which is something he said he would always do anyway. So it's just like everything he was doing to her was right there the entire time. It was all, just pretty much open. And like I said, I was glad that they weren't trying to play it coyly. So that when it happened, you weren't surprised, but you were still kind of like, yeah, that's how this was going to go. Yeah, completely.
Exactly. So it's working really well. John Cryer as Lex Luthor. We saw a flashback scene about him turning the sun red, or turning the light red sunlight, which was when he got arrested. It looks like from what we've seen in trailers and things that we will get more of a flashback in this upcoming episode titled The House of L, where we'll probably see Superman's involvement and where things got to, how things got to this point in time. So we look forward to that. We'll also see, as has been revealed, that Lex is behind the manipulation of this Russian Supergirl as well. So he's got his fingers in every pie.
Yeah, and it's just like, okay, if we're gonna do this, that's a really good way to do it. It's seeing Lex in kind of like a winter coat walking into a Russian thing again. You get that whole Superman 4 vibe of him working with the Russians, selling missiles and stuff. So if he pronounces nuclear, I will fall out of my chair. Now, because that's what Hackman did throughout the entire Superman 4.
Now, to be clear, Jimmy and Lex, or James and Lex, now have the serum in them that have given them the cure for what ailed them. But Jimmy having the gunshot and Lex the cancer. Is it clear what their superpowers might be, or what power they might have gained from that? I
thought it was Lena talked about the fact that they separated that for the more curative part of it. So I think it was literally Lex. I am willing to put money on the fact that Lex did not take the serum until he got word that it had worked on Jimmy.
Yeah.
Jimmy was his guinea pig, which makes perfect sense that that he would just not care about Jimmy Olsen whatsoever because he's Superman's pal.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't think they're going to have any kind of superpowers. Lena's going to have a lot of explaining to do at the end of all of this. But I liked how everything played out. It's just I liked that Lex actually was dying. This wasn't a trick.
And I liked that infection.
Yeah, and that was one of the better parts of it for me, because it's just like, that's right out of the Byrne comics where he got cancer and had his hand amputated.
Yeah, well,
because of it.
Yeah, well, let's look at the promo for the House of L episode, which is the 15th episode of Season 4 and will air this coming Sunday.
Aliens are among us. I am protecting mankind from an extinction.
I will follow you and destroy her.
Can't break a Kryptonian, but maybe we can bend one.
Supergirl, all new this Sunday at 8/7 Central on the CW.
So there you have it. That was the promo for the House of L, and interesting to see Melissa Benoist doing a Russian accent. I wonder how much time she spent, practicing that.
It wouldn't surprise me that she's had it in her hip pocket. A lot of actors develop accents and such. So we're all pretty hip to the fact that Manchester Black is now hiding in John's brain, right?
Right.
That his personality's in. Okay, I was just.
Yeah, it was a bit subtle, that kind of,
Yeah.
John. In some ways, I thought maybe they're going with the fact that, John, having done that to Manchester, supposedly killed him, had broken something within him and given him the anger element that he's probably trying to suppress all this time with being the man of peace or whatever. But now that you say it, you wonder. Obviously, Manchester's not gone. Is he in there somewhere?
The way he picked up the ring and looked at her and said, "We have to go," it was just like, it was weird. So, and boy, zombie Kara and Alex was creepy.
That was a great effect. And
it was. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. It was the nice thing about this episode is that you had two subplots. You had, or three technically, if you want to count Brainy and Nia as their own subplot. None of them distracted from the Lex stuff. It all added to make like a really full and good episode. I liked seeing Alex. The only thing I didn't like about this episode was Alex asking Kara, "Why aren't you here? Why aren't you here?" I was just like, guys, is this Smallville season 2? Because we're at a hospital. This feels a lot like Smallville season 2.
Yeah, I guess they're playing that whole thing of trying to drag along that whole plot of, Kara having to, play it careful with Alex not knowing that she's Supergirl and has other things to do other than being a reporter. But yes, it didn't play out as well as maybe they had hoped, that side of things. Of course, really, what could Kara do other than be sitting there in the waiting room like Alex was? She wasn't doing anything, constructive. Yeah,
I guess maybe because she was supposedly closer to James than Alex was. But
James's sister, what did you think of her?
I liked her. I kind of thought it was funny at the end that he was scared to talk to his mom. It kind of adds this whole, because we're kind of used to, if we see Jimmy's family at all, it's usually his mom, and that's the way it was in the comics. But on most of the and the radio series, but in most of the television series, Jimmy just comes to the Daily Planet and he works, and that's all you really see. Maybe he goes and visits an aunt, and there's like a really creepy parrot and a girl yelling at a lighthouse, and you have that happen. But it was kind of neat to see someone, like, she knew exactly how many times she had visited James in the hospital. I thought that was a really nice touch.
And did you, Tina mentioned it, the quote, but did you catch the Rocky 3? I will break you. The Rocky, Ivan Drago to Rocky Balboa, in the Russian accent there.
No, I did not catch that.
I don't know if she actually said it, but that's what Tina posted in there. It would be funny if they did use something like that.
Oh yeah, I would totally love if the two Supergirls are facing off and she goes, "I will break you. I will again fall out of my chair." Yeah.
All right, now John Cryer, as he said, did participate in a number of interviews. One we didn't mention was with Vulture.com, where he spoke about the differences in his Lex Luthor compared to Gene Hackman's, and about being skeptical at first when they cast him in the role. Like, what could he bring to it? But he says that this guy is a sociopath, so it's actually a darker play, and I think they were trying to find someone who could find a twinkle in the eye of that. And I think he's done a marvelous job of bringing that to the character. So looking forward to next week's episode to see just what else he can do to Lex Luthor. And sorry, yes, it was Rocky 4, not Rocky 3.
Yeah, and I think there's a third one he's gonna be in too, because he mentioned in the Rosenbaum interview that he's there for 3, because DC would only let him have him for 3 episodes. So,
well, I think the one that he might be in is the one that's titled All About Eve, which I'm guessing is about Miss Tessmacher, if anything. But it's titled All About Eve, and it's the episode 17 of season 4. Comes out March 31st, and the description reads, Supergirl must deal with the destructive aftermath of Lex's nefarious plans. Shocked at what Lex has created, Supergirl faces her biggest challenge yet. And I'm guessing that's also going to be the Red Sun Supergirl part of it as well.
This is going to be an interesting diversion. Now, how they tie it back into the main plot at the end is going to be interesting. Because now I'm not quite sure what the final storyline is going to be.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how this season's going to end, but I'm sure Lex Luthor's actions will play some part in whatever the finale is leading up to. Now, speaking of Supergirl, Star Ace, the figure creator, they've got a Supergirl TV series, Real Master series of figures coming out. They've recently announced their Supergirl 1/8 scale figure, which I've got the images for right here. It's expected to ship in the third quarter of 2019, and it features an authentic likeness of Supergirl from the CW series. Features a calm expression head sculpt with rooted hair, and Supergirl is dressed in her classic suit. It says battle suit, but it's classic suit. And I believe there'll be a Superman, there'll be an Arrow, Flash, and other CW versions also coming out in the near future.
There's something kind of unsettling about this figure. I mean, it's neat. I like it, but there's... I kind of expect it to look at me, and that's kind of freaking me out, actually.
A bit of like a Chucky vibe.
Yeah. Though I think I saw somewhere else a picture of the Superman one. That'll have his, and I'm hoping it's something you can take off, but it'll have the little thing he wore.
Protective thing, yeah.
For at the end and the second episode of season 2. So, but yeah, these are, God, figures are so complicated now.
Well, it's not cheap. It's $139 or $140 US. So it's not like your average action figure. 1/8 scale that's a fair size, but
no,
not cheap at all.
Yeah, I don't know if it's $130 awesome.
Yeah, indeed.
I mean, if they want to send me one to review, I'll take it. I'm gonna keep doing that until somebody actually sends me something.
Well, if you want one, BigBadToyStore.com is the place to pre-order for its release, as I said, in the third quarter of 2019. Alright, let's take a quick break, almost at the halfway point of tonight's show. Then I want to talk about the latest comic books, especially Superman number 9 and Supergirl number 28, which came out this past week. We're going to play a few messages and then come back to talk comic book stuff right after this. Don't go anywhere.
We'll be back in a moment with the exciting climax of today's episode. So stand by.
Look, up in the sky.
It's a bird.
It's a plane. No, it's SupermanHomepage.com, the #1 Superman fan site in the world. SupermanHomepage.com, covering the world of Superman from the 1930s to today. News, reviews, rumors, and reports. SupermanHomepage.com for all your Superman comics, TV shows, movies, cartoons, radio shows, and more. Everything you ever wanted to know about the Man of Steel and more. SupermanHomepage.com.
Thanks, Superman Homepage, for all the support over the years. I really appreciate it.
I'm Matt Bomer. I'm the voice of Superman in Superman Unbound, and this is the Superman Homepage.
Right here on Superman Homepage.
I'm freezing! Superman!
Uh-oh, sounds like Lisa and Scott are trapped in the icy cave of that frosty-faced villain, Captain Cold. This is a job for Superman.
My fast freeze zapper will freeze Superman forever.
No way, Captain. Here, kids, my new Superman Hot Cocoa Mix is the super tasting way to warm up.
It's really sweet and chocolatey.
And see, Captain Cold can't take this warm reception. New Superman Hot Cocoa, the super tasting way to warm up.
And we're back on WGBS TV Live. 1983 that Coco came out. I wonder if it's expired.
Probably not.
Best before date?
Oh, I'm sure there's an expiration date on it. I'm not quite sure that it... I mean, it is vacuum sealed, so I don't know. I wondered the same thing about the Superman peanut butter if you haven't opened the jar yet.
Well, I've got actually enjoying Superman with, at the moment. Or not as much as Action Comics, I don't think, but Superman's still as enjoyable as, as I've been reading for the last couple of months.
So, there's been this thing that's been nagging me all day that I felt like I needed to do. Like I was forgetting something. And it occurred to me just as we came back from break that it was to read Superman number 9. So go ahead and spoil it. I know that some of it, that there was a bit of social media buzz about it this weekend, because I saw Brian Michael Bendis talking about the fact that the way they had that one page set up with the dialogue kind of blocking Ultraman, that was done on purpose. But I'm really looking forward to reading it. I don't mind you spoiling it, because if they're really going to do kind of a deep dive and make it and not only do stuff with John but stuff with Ultraman, I'm really excited about that.
Well, I think that, like Adam said, it's a solid idea. The story there's nothing wrong with the story itself, but I think that where things have kind of didn't go that well in this particular issue was with the dialogue. I think Superboy's dialogue, especially when he was under attack, was just awful. Like, you're just like, who would say that at a time like, when you're being beaten up, saying something like, "Listen, Jersey City version of my dad, I see you're getting all ready to drop some big drama on me, but I am so not into it. Let go."
That's Bendis. That's one of his tics. He likes that kind of dialogue, so I'm not surprised about it at all, actually.
So yeah, I think that's probably what took Adam out of the story, was the way some of the dialogue played out. The idea is pretty solid. Superboy stuck in the crime syndicate Earth, having to deal with being trapped by a version of his dad who's nothing like his dad. It's kind of messing with him, and at the end of the issue, we get to see him meet the version of his mother, which obviously is not his mother. So we'll wait and see how that plays out in the Superman number 10 issue in a couple of weeks. But then we had Supergirl number 20... What is it? Just trying to load that up now. Supergirl number 28 was also released this week. And many people I've seen on social media as well are saying that how much they're enjoying the Supergirl story, sometimes better even than the Bendis Superman main comic books.
Yeah, at some point I guess I'll have to catch up on Supergirl, because we're about to have kind of a crossover. It looks like from the solicitations that they're going to bring everything together. But hopefully they'll have like some kind of sale where I can pick up the digital books cheap. But I like the fact that people are liking the Supergirl book, because when it went away, there was an outcry, or as much of an outcry as you get. I say these things and I realize that in the grand scheme of things, just because I see a bunch of people talking about it on Twitter doesn't mean that it's a thing. It just means those people on Twitter are upset. But no, it seemed like there was a general concern, like, are we going to lose Supergirl now, which is kind of an odd time to lose her, because there's still a successful television series.
And a movie coming up. If it ever happens.
I'm really hoping that it doesn't. I want them... I'm not going to get into that. But no, it's... I like the fact that, there I do the sigh that resets myself. It seems with Supergirl that it's not so much that we have a character, but a series of directions that writers take her in. Like in the New 52, that was the thing. It seemed like every 6 months to a year, a new writer would come on and they would put her on a different path. Whether, it's like dealing with her dad being the cyborg Superman or going to the Hogwarts in space with superheroes and stuff. And with, the Rebirth, they had a very definite TV vibe to it, which wasn't a surprise. But when they brought her back,
and everything.
They launched her into this this iteration, and it seems like if you look at the history of the character, from being Superman's secret weapon to being a college student to being a soap opera actress to living in Chicago, it seems like it's just her fate. And feel free, Supergirl fans, to correct me on this, because I'm kind of on the outside looking in with this character sometimes, but it just seems like if her direction's good, everyone's happy. If the direction's bad, no one's happy.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And it's probably a good time to jump onto the Supergirl comic books because, as we will see in the June solicitations, which we're about to speak about, there is a crossover coming up between the Superman and Supergirl books dealing with the whole Rogol-Zar thing and the real story behind the destruction of Krypton that we'll be getting into in a couple of months. So, if you want to know what's been happening with Supergirl and her hunt for the information about just what did happen to Krypton and going into space to find all that kind of information out, then it will be a good time to do that before June, when they'll have that crossover that will have a culmination of all those story threads coming to a conclusion.
Yeah, because we got the big Leviathan thing coming up, so I'm sure that's going to start... Maybe that'll start eating into the Superman thing, because that seems to be Bendis's big... it's the year of the villain coming up.
Yeah. Well, let's speak about the June 2019 solicitations that were released this past week. And for some reason they were done, I think it was on a Friday, which is unusual. They usually do them on a Tuesday. And that
was a little weird. I noticed that. I was like, why am I seeing this over the weekend? I usually see previews over the weekend.
And it ruined me because I was like, it was a weekend for me, and thankfully Neil Bailey was able to jump on board and post all those for us. And there were some interesting things. The event Leviathan is the big one that is from Brian Michael Bendis, and it's a groundbreaking story. So that's coming up in June, as is Superman Year 1, which we'll talk about a little bit more in detail. But as far as the Action Comics and Superman comics are concerned, we saw Action Comics 1012, the solicitations for that, which is the cover. Well, he's not so angry, but there are the red eyes there.
Yes.
But we have artist Simon Kudransky joining Bendis as the attacks of Leviathan threaten targets across the globe, and the agents of the Invisible Mafia continue to infect Metropolis in this tie-in to Event Leviathan.
I like that that's what they're calling it, Event Leviathan.
Yeah.
That's a good dramatic name.
And then we have Superman number 12, which is the one I was talking about being a crossover. It's a crossover between Superman and Supergirl. It's the House of El against everyone, as Superman, Jor-El, Supergirl, and Superboy face intergalactic attacks from Rogol-Zar, General Zod, and an armada of alien warriors and assassins. With the truth behind Krypton's destruction set to be revealed, a galactic conspiracy threatens to silence Supergirl and Jor-El if Superman can't live up to his name.
I'm really looking forward to that too. I think it's going to be again, they really haven't put a foot too far wrong on this. So yeah, I'm excited for what's coming up this summer.
Now, speaking of, I think it was last week, we kind of mentioned the whole Year 1 thing with with Frank Miller and John Romita Jr. doing this. Well, now we know it's a 4-issue, or is it 3 issues? It's June, August, and October, with the collection coming out in November. It's a coming-of-age story for the future Man of Steel, featuring a young alien boy just trying to find his place in a new world. Whoops, I changed the page. Where is it? And faced with the need to hide his heritage and powers in order to survive, Clark will find his humanity through the grounding of the Kent family and the relationships that will define the man he will become. Told by two of the most revered voices in comics, Superman Year One is a more than... what does it say? It's a... oh, sorry, I'm just finding the image here. Is more than a superhero story. It's about the choices made by Clark Kent, and he's on his path to becoming a legend. It's a testament to the importance of choosing to become a hero.
Yeah, I'm not really feeling that cover at all.
Yeah, that's one cover. There's another one.
I just, really trying not to be snarky about this. It's almost a little painful. And I'm not saying that, I have the right to be snarky, because I don't. That's not the point. But it's just, wow. This just like they wanted to do a Superman Black Label series, so they do the only thing they can do, which is his origin, because that's their move, and that's what this feels like. And it could be amazing. I'm not gonna judge it too harshly before I read it. I'm gonna be reading it, but it's just like, wow, why are you doing this? It's like from two people that really had a bad experience with Superman in the past comes his origin, because everyone asked for that.
Yeah. The artworks, I've never been a big fan of John Romita Jr.'s Superman artwork. I don't know what he's like in other books where he's made his name, but I just don't like his version of Superman. I don't know if in some of these images he's trying to, create a Frank Miller type of look. I don't know what he's doing there, but all in all, this isn't one that's screaming out to me, gotta get it, but I've got to get it just to see how bad it will be, if it's going to be bad.
Yeah, I'm going to pick it up because I want to give it a fair shake. I'm going to go into it assuming that I am going to like it. That is going to be, my bar that I'm setting for it. And it could be that Frank Miller pulls something off that is just amazing, and that we get a new, fresh take on the origin. But again, we've had about 50 of those in the past decade or so. So really, I really want to do like a smash cut of all of the people like in the behind the scenes of Man of Steel talking about how it's a bold new take on the origin, and then look at all the interviews for things like Superman Earth 1 and Superman Secret Origin, and even going back to like Superman Birthright, and see if bold new take is something that everyone says, or is that just something we're joking about?
Now, I think initially last week we said November was the release. That's the release of the collected version, but it will be June, August, and October. The individual issues will come out. So June 19th is the first issue. So look for that come June. Now, also this... sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to mention the fact that DC Comics is really testing its audience with this solicitation, because they have a $500 28-pound box set of Crisis on Infinite Earths reprints. I'm fascinated by this, because not only does it reprint like all of the crossovers and Crisis on Infinite Earths as well, but like the first bunch of volumes are all the Crisis on Earth X, Crisis on Earth 2, like Justice League, Justice Society crossovers. What the heck is with this thing? 28 pounds? Do you need a spotter to get that to the car?
Imagine the shipping costs by weight.
Well, here's the funny thing, is if you order it through like things like in-stock trades, you get free shipping over $50. So
there you go.
Maybe you can avoid that altogether.
100%.
Not everyone should order it through the Amazon link on the Superman homepage. That's what I'm going to say here.
Now, DC also this week announced their whole slate of publications for the DC Ink and DC Zoom imprints, and there's the schedule of things coming out. Start with a book called The Secret Spiral of Swamp Kid, followed closely by DC Superhero Girls at Metropolis High. And I've got the cover for those two books right here. There's The Secret Spiral of Swamp Kid, which doesn't really probably appeal to too many Superman or Supergirl fans. But then you've got DC Superhero Girls at Metropolis High. These are obviously aimed at younger readers. The young adult graphic novels and middle grade graphic novels are out there. There's a whole slate of them, including Super Sons, The Polar Shield Project, Dear Justice League, Superman of Smallville. There's the let's see, Super Sons, The Foxglove Mission. There's a whole series of these books coming out. And then there's not so much in the DC Ink range for the older 13 plus readers for as far as Superman is concerned, but there's Mira, there's Catwoman, there's Teen Titans, Harley Quinn and Batman, of course, in that range of books. But I'm glad that they are doing publications for younger readers, both under 13 and over 13.
Yeah, well, you know, we kind of talked about these a little bit when they were first announced, and you know, I'm going to just reiterate what I said then, is that I'm glad that DC really seems to be turning away from its New 52 mentality of trying to fit every, you know, peg into a square hole, no matter, you know, what size what shape the peg is. You know, they're trying things for younger readers. They're trying to keep the, you know, like the older readers that are like the more traditional fare. You've got the Young Justice and Wonder Twins books and all that. So, you know, I say as long as they're successful, keep them going, because it's just gonna. There is a chance to oversaturate the market, but on the other hand, you could also just basically have, like, you know, there is this myth that if comic book companies just wrote for kids again, kids would come back to comics. I don't agree with that. No. I don't think that's true at all. I think that it has been too many generations of comic book readers have gone by since, you know, the turn of the century, really, to have, you know, these aren't disposable things you buy at the grocery store anymore. Even having like digests and stuff like that is complicated because of how the distribution works. And I was in a discussion with a group of friends a couple weeks ago. You know, it's just like, well, you know, if the National Enquirer is in grocery stores, why can't Superman? Because people want to read the National Enquirer, or, you know, majority of the regular people on planet Earth, for whatever reason, want to read National Enquirer, and they don't care about Superman. So, you know, DC and Marvel are not going to invest the money to lose money, essentially.
Exactly.
But here, you know, you have, you know, they're available digitally. The young adult market in fiction is still extremely popular.
Yeah.
So you're grabbing them in different venues than just comic book shops.
Indeed. And they're really banking on these selling well or being a popular thing, because they're even doing trailers for the books. Super Sons, The Polar Shield Project, which comes out April 2nd, has this following trailer to promote the book. Let's have a look at it right now. So there you have it. That's the book coming out April 2nd, Super Sons, The Polar Shield Project. And it's book one of a series of Super Sons books. This one is written by New York Times bestselling author Ridley Pearson. And it's a graphic novel with art by Isla Gonzalez. So check that out if that's something that interests you. I think I'll be having a look at that one.
Bobby in the Flash chat made the comment that Diamond ruined everything, referring to Diamond Distribution, which is where comic shops get their comics from. It's a really complicated issue because the direct market, when it came of age in the 80s and 90s, it came of age because fewer and fewer grocery stores and mom and pop candy stores and such stopped carrying comics. I mean, it's interesting to think, when I started collecting books back in the 80s, grocery stores and 7-Elevens and all that had comics, but from what I've been able to read about, that was kind of becoming a rare thing. Even as early as the 70s, grocery stores weren't carrying them as much. So you had to have the direct market come up. And yeah, it's too bad that, there's now only one real distributor of comics, where in the early 90s especially, you had 3 or 4. And then through, God, I could probably take up an entire hour talking about how that all fell apart. But it's nice though that DC, as I was saying, is trying different venues now because they don't have to go. Diamond's going to solicit these books, but I don't think they have an exclusive on distributing them. So you can go through bookstores and Targets and Walmarts and such.
Or digital.
Yeah. Yes.
So
more likely, yes.
Now, we haven't seen a crossover between intercompany crossover for a number of years that I can remember, but Dark Horse and DC are joining forces to publish a crossover bringing the heroes of Black Hammer, which is not something I've heard of before, and the Justice League together in a 5-part miniseries called Black Hammer Justice League Hammer of Justice. Of course it is. Now, it'll be written by Jeff Lemire with art by Michael Walsh, and this is the cover for this particular comic book, issue 1, with obviously an upside down kind of version there, showing the 2 different groups of characters from the 2 different universes.
Yeah, I guess it speaks to how memorable it was. We did have the Justice League Power Rangers crossover about 2 or 3 years ago.
Yes, that's true. And recently the Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, Injustice, which is like, wow, those are 2 tastes I was not expecting to have together. That it's I think DC at this point is just completely against the idea of traditional Superman meeting He-Man. Because the first time it was the New 52 one, and they killed the New 52 Superman like early in the series, and then with this one it was the Injustice Superman. Though I will say this, speaking of Injustice, and not really remotely anything we're talking about tonight, I've been playing the Injustice 2 mobile game on my phone.
Okay.
Because it's a simple, it's a fighting game.
Yeah.
It's a good way to relieve stress. The opening animatics of this thing, of the destruction of Krypton, were really good. I was shocked. I don't know if it's actually from the game because I haven't played Injustice 2 yet.
I think it might be.
But you basically follow Supergirl or Kara as Brainiac is decimating Krypton, and see her get rocketed off, and I'm just like, wow, this is way more emotional than I thought it was going to be.
There you go. All right, well, looking ahead to this week's comic books, and there is only just the one, but it looks like it's going to be a doozy. It is Justice League number 20. Which interestingly comes in a like a 3-part connective cover, which I'm going to grab for you right now. So you've got the main cover there, and then it's connected by 2 other parts that join up and show the complete graphic there. And it's the Battle of the Superman. You've got this 6th-dimensional thing trip that they're doing, and this looks like a Superman that's been in the 6th dimension, or is it? We don't know. It's going to play out in Justice League number 20, coming out this week, and I can tell you in advance, because the review has already been handed in, that our reviewer absolutely loved this and gave it a 5 out of 5, so it comes out Wednesday, March 20th, tomorrow. So make sure you check it out if you've been reading Justice League, which you should be, because it is one of the best titles DC are publishing at the moment, especially this story.
Yeah, I'm getting kind of the feeling like I should catch up on this, especially since we're going to have a big, huge event later this year. So I was going to pick up a couple of issues and see if it was something I wanted to devote. I actually had to turn to the internet for help to see if I needed to read anything besides just this Justice League title. So we'll see how that goes.
Now, on the book front of things, we've been talking about graphic novels and comic books. On the novel side of things, I recently picked up Matt Della Penna's Superman Dawnbreaker. I haven't read it yet, but I just found it on the shelves in the stores here, and it's recently been released. And he's done an interview with Goodreads.com about the novel, and he says he tried to tell a story where the contextual world of Smallville sort of mirrored the internal struggles of Clark Kent. He says this is a common approach to storytelling. He says, but he tried to heighten it with the current political discourse around the topic of immigration. He says this is a hot button issue as well, as you all know, but the job of the writer is not to provide answers, but merely ask important and or interesting questions. So the two biggest challenges for Clark in the novel are what's happening politically in Smallville and his increasing awareness of his own outside status. I haven't seen any reviews for this, but I know it's pretty much like a young adult type of novel, but it's something that I'm looking forward to reading. It sounds like it's going to be tackling some issues that might not have seen really in a Superman novel before.
Yeah, I was kind of a little disappointed when the first series of these novels came out and there wasn't a Superman one, but I should be picking this up too, hopefully, at some point, and then throwing it on a pile and not reading it for 3 years, because that's usually how it works out for me.
Well, that pretty much...
I don't know why.
Yeah,
it just
happens.
happens.
Just time. I know what it's like. Well, that pretty much brings us to the end of tonight's program, but before we do sign off, I'd like to thank everyone for watching tonight's episode of WGBS TV Live, and to everyone who's been participating in the YouTube comments there. And a big thank you to you, my co-host, Mr. Michael Bailey. Thanks, Mike.
Pleasure as always, Steve.
And a huge thank you to our sponsor and patron, Douglas Meacham. And if you want to sponsor the Superman homepage, please head to patreon.com/Superman homepage, where you too can be a sponsor for as little as $3. Now, the complete 1 hour video of tonight's show will remain available on the Superman homepage website and our YouTube channel if you'd like to watch it back, or perhaps you missed part of the show. But we'll be back next week on Tuesday, March 26th at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for another, or is it Pacific Daylight Time now for you guys? No, it's Standard. No, Daylight?
Yeah, we're Standard now.
Okay. Anyway.
Where are we on day? I don't know.
It's Pacific Time, 7:30 p.m.
That's all I know.
That's it. Now, we'll be back next week, so I look forward to talking with you then. Until then, and don't forget, next week we'll be doing the Big Question and the Super Secret Soundbite segments, so that's happening in our show next week. But until then, be sure to check out our website, supermanhomepage.com, for all your daily news updates on everything surrounding the Man of Steel. I'm Steve Eunice on behalf of myself and Michael Bailey. Thanks for watching WGBS TV Live, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com.
$500.